And now, welcome to the Patriot Pulse podcast.
And good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday, March 18th, the day after St. Patrick's Day. And for those of you that are keeping track, this is episode 251. And since this is the third Wednesday of the month, this is Econ Recon with Jim M., the day that we bring Jim back and talk about money and economics and everything in that realm that I admittedly don't understand that well. So we bring back the expert. And just as a reminder, we're also simulcasting to two guys drinking coffee still. So James, Fred, how are you two this morning?
Doing well.
Jim, thank you for joining us today. Can you hear us okay? Jim?
We got still muted?
Yeah, you froze up on me completely on this end. I don't know what happened there.
Are you all right now?
I don't know. We'll see.
Okay, well, we'll do we can hear you okay and see you okay. So as long as you can hear us, I guess we'll just keep going here a little bit.
Yeah.
So
not sure what caused that, but oh well.
Yep. All right. Well, hey, good morning to everybody that's joining us online. We appreciate you all. And like I say, this is our Econ Recon episode that we do each month. And but let's get started with a little bit of housekeeping. As always, just like click like, click share, whether you're watching us on X or Rumble, subscribe to our pages, help us overcome the algorithms that are shadow banning us, which they are many. And before we get rocking and rolling here, I want to do a little bit of business with America for one of our sponsors here.
Need to get your brand noticed, remembered, and loved? At Everything Printed Promo, we turn your logo into walking, talking, shareable billboards. Whatever the occasion, we make you look amazing every time. Pens, shirts, drinkware, tech gadgets, you dream it, we print it perfectly. Visit everythingprintedpromo.com or call 888-619-9286 today. First-time customers get 15% off. Let's make your brand unforgettable.
Okay. I did throw a few topics to Jim before the show, yesterday or the day before, I can't remember. So we'll see. I mean, we're going to kind of use this as a little bit of current events as it deals with economics. So we'll see where we go with this. So, Jim, first of all, let's talk about, if we can, because I know this is on everybody's mind. You can't go to the gas, get gas in your car without seeing the fact that our gas prices have gone up in this area, 30 to 40 cents in a week. So my first topic on here was oil prices, war in Iran, and of course, the administration is telling us no problem. And I had question mark. So the talking heads that are proponents of the Iran conflict are shrugging their shoulders at the price of gas going up. And I'm editorializing a little bit here. They're saying it's to be expected, and these are my words, we must suck it up for world peace. So, Jim, what say you on that subject?
Well, it's not so much me. I'm just going to report what other folks are reporting, I guess. So I guess it's your perspective. Are you looking at this from a U.S. only perspective? Are you looking at this from a global perspective? Are you looking at this from a Middle Eastern perspective? Depending on which perspective you look at it from, your opinion is going to be very different because you're impacted in many different ways. So if we want to start off with just the United States, so gas has gone up 30, 40 cents a gallon. In theory, it could go up much more, but it's only 30, 40 cents a gallon at this moment. One of the things that has calmed that down is that we're going to be releasing 175 million barrels from our strategic reserves, which currently hold 415, which is down from 700 because we all know Biden drained that a lot. And now we're going to drain that another 175 or approximately 40%. So is that a good thing? Should we do that? Should we not do that? If we don't do that, then prices will go higher. So that's the one question that way.
Let me jump in there for a minute, because Fred told me something this morning that I had not heard, but go ahead, Fred, tell him what you told me.
I said, I know Congress was trying to block him from even using the oil reserves, but if they've done it, that's a great thing, finally, because they were trying to block it.
Okay, I have not heard that they blocked it, though.
They were trying to block it.
Okay.
They didn't block it. Yeah. They were trying to block it.
So, I mean, we'll see how that plays out. So if they block it, then gas prices will go higher.
And they do that
if they
on
don't
purpose.
block it, then gas prices will stay a little bit lower, maybe. It is interesting that Scott Bessent, well, actually, two statements came out. One from the Chicago Mercantile Exchange maybe a week ago, came out and said it would be very bad for the Treasury Department to manipulate the price of oil, which is an interesting statement. I believe it was yesterday, maybe it was Monday, I think. Scott Bessent, our Treasury Secretary, came out and said, we are not manipulating the oil market. Now, you can read whatever you want into that, but my bet is somebody thinks they are. And would our government ever manipulate a market?
Well, first of all, how would the Treasury Department actually manipulate the oil market? Explain that one to me.
Well, I don't know exactly how they might do that. Or how they would do that. I can think of ways that they might. The first obvious one we just talked about, dumping a bunch of oil into the market. That's manipulation right there. The second thing is you've got derivatives. And we've talked about derivatives, Jim, forever in the COMEX Mercantile Exchange with gold and silver and other things. They can do the same thing that way. And kind of fake the price down for a while. At some point, if people absolutely they can fake it for a while. If this crisis goes on longer, then at some point people actually need the physical oil, and they can't fake it any longer. Then you could see a major price explosion because it's like a spring. If you suppress it, then you take the pressure off, and it bounces pretty high. So. I mean, I'm sure they have other ways as well. We know the Treasury Department does all kinds of things.
I don't know for certain. I don't know for certain that the Department of Treasury has direct influence. I mean, don't get me wrong. They could influence other lawmakers. They could influence the president. They could do a lot of things, but they don't have, as far as I know, direct responsibility to oil prices or to these commodities that you're talking about. Obviously there's always influence, but direct impact, I don't know.
Well, we're in a nation where you're guilty until proven innocent. So therefore all you have to do is say it and they believe you've done it.
Yeah. But you know what, the U.S. government and through the big banks have been, Jim, we shared this so many times, Jim and Fred. Back in the 2018, the last report I saw, I can only imagine what the numbers are now. The banks with the U.S. government blessing, I guess you could say, at least in some cases, have been fined $350 billion for manipulating every market in the world. So, I would say that based on that evidence, and that is fact, can they manipulate the oil market? Yes. Are they? Maybe. It's just something, but it's just interesting that the COMEX Mercantile Exchange did say it would not be a good thing if the Treasury Department did that. And Scott Bessent felt it's needed that he clarify that, no, they're not doing that. So that would be one thing. The other thing that's some of the specific things with the U.S. You want me to go global at this point?
Well, yeah, go ahead. Because I have a question about specifically the Strait of Hormuz, so I want to kind of interject it in here somewhere, but okay. Go ahead and continue.
So globally, this is very significant. So there's an article on Zero Hedge just this morning talking about this oil crisis versus the last one, which was 2022, and in 2022, gas prices spiked over $100 a barrel. We talked about that. Mm-hmm. The amount of oil being affected this time in terms of not being able to be shipped is 15 times greater than 2022. So that is huge. That is not something you can just say this isn't an issue, this isn't a problem. If 1/15 of what is happening now spiked oil prices to $100, what could 15 times greater than that be? I don't know. We hear reports $150, $200 a barrel, whatever it may be. It's significant enough that, remember, because of that Russia-Ukraine war, we put sanctions on Russian oil, that Russia could no longer sell their oil, at least not legally, so to speak, based on U.S. rules. Trump released that. Any Russian oil that is currently on the seas can be sold. So that helps to alleviate the global oil pressure. If you take a look at Southeast Asia, which is probably the most impacted because they get most of their oil from that area, you now see countries going into partial lockdowns again. We all recall the lockdowns from 2020. So you have countries like Vietnam, Indonesia, Malaysia, that are going to 4-day work weeks, working from home. I know one of my pastors at my church has a missionary over in Thailand. They were having trouble getting gasoline, and that was even like almost 2 weeks ago. So that's having a very significant impact. Australia, I caught a couple of news stories from Australia. They got about a 30-day gas supply and about an equivalent amount for diesel and jet fuel, maybe a little bit more on one of those. I forget which one. Japan is basically in pretty good shape. China has about a 90-day supply. Now, they can tap into Russia and bring oil down that way, but could this influence them to get involved, so to speak? So this is impacting other nations around the world globally. Now, beyond the oil, since we're just on the topic right here, and then we'll get to the Strait of Hormuz, this is having a lot of impacts that way. Natural gas, Qatar supplied 20% of the liquid natural gas. That was cut off almost on day one, definitely during the first week of the war. Fertilizers, 30% of the world's fertilizer comes from the Middle East. I did not know that. It's going to be planting season in the Northern Hemisphere. My bet is a lot of what we need for fertilizer for this planting season is already close to what we need, because farmers are starting to plant in the South already. They're beginning in the warmer climates of this country. So I think a lot of our fertilizer might already be here, so we might not be affected. But 30% off the global market is something to be concerned about. And then you have things like I just learned this 2 days ago. Bahrain has the largest aluminum factory in the world. It is now shut down.
Iran does?
Bahrain.
Oh, Bahrain. Oh, all right.
Bahrain, however you say it. But,
Bahrain.
It makes sense because my dad worked for Alcoa for 30 years or more. And, aluminum making takes a lot of energy. It's very energy intensive. And so it actually makes sense that you would have a factory like that in the Middle East because there's lots of energy there. So this has a lot of impact. I know I got a little bit beyond oil, but I just thought I'd throw some of those things out.
Well, I want to throw. I
know the press secretary came out and said that this is actually part of the strategy on the oil because of the fact that China's been getting oil at like a third of the price where everybody else is being charged the full price. So this was part of the strategy, according to the press secretary.
Yeah. Fred, maybe that is. And then we have to look at a precedent that was set once in the past. So the 1930s, the United States cut off the oil supply to Japan, and Japan bombed Pearl Harbor. Now there were other aspects to that too. I mean, it took place over many years.
I was going to say.
So could this lead to, like I said, mentioned China getting involved if it goes on for too long of a time? Now we do know that China was stockpiling oil in anticipation of this event. So, like I said, last report I saw was they've got about 90-day supply, and they will probably now be tapping into Russia very significantly. So that's all a very interesting thing there too. So could this lead to a much bigger war because of that? Maybe. I don't know.
Let me go off on a tangent here before we go too far, because Tom made a comment here, and I did see this, and I saw a partial explanation on it. I can't remember, but maybe Jim, you can lend some ideas to this, because the person that I remember was talking about it did connect this to the oil situation going on, or the economy in general. What's your take on this?
Okay, so if I read his statement here, interesting as it may seem, the prices of silver, gold, and oil are downward trend, pennies per day, but still going down. Is that good or bad? Okay, so first off, let's take a look. If you look at from day to day, or say from 2 weeks ago, they're down. But if you look at the big picture, it wasn't that long ago that oil was $60 a barrel. Today it's 95. So it's very much up. In terms of silver and gold, well, let's take a look at silver, for example. It's down from its incredible high of 120, but it's also up from $28 a year ago, sitting around $80. In terms of silver and gold, two aspects. One, they front ran what was coming. That market knew that something was coming, and the price went up before it happened. The smart money knew, the insiders knew, and so they bought it before everything, before this event, and who knows what other events may happen. So in that sense, it already did its run. I mean, it's already up 100, 200% over the last year. So it's already got its gains in. Right now, it seems very much like it's being held at $5,000 for gold and $80 for silver. And I say held because it really does look that way. I mean, we'll see what happens, but it looks like there's almost somebody's got the finger on the button, so to speak, kind of holding it there. And again, we do know that those markets have been manipulated hugely.
Terribly, yeah.
So are they manipulating it? Very possibly. Can we prove it? No. Now, silver is a little bit interesting because silver serves a dual purpose. Let me go back one step. Gold is basically a monetary holding. People use it as gold as cash, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And per the international banking systems, for the first time in 50 plus years, gold is now considered good as cash in the banking system. That has not been the case.
Tier one asset isn't that what they call it? A tier one asset?
Yep. Silver is
we lost you, Jim. I think you froze up. I don't know if you can hear us. Yep, I think you froze. Let's see if we can get him back. Let's see here. I'll text him and let him know he froze up if he doesn't realize it. He might still be talking there, thinking he's going live. Jim, where are you on my list here? You froze.
Crazy thing.
Hopefully we can get him back.
I said the crazy thing is whenever there's a conflict of any type like this, oil always goes up slightly. It does. Yeah. It's just a matter of fact. It's going to happen, and just a matter of getting it.
I think Jim's reporting. He dropped off the screen. As soon as he comes back on, we'll bring him back in. But this will give me a chance to do a shout out here. We got who's on with us. We got Fran. We got Tom. Of course, Tom's been commenting. Charlie's been making some comments on here too. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm watching.
We got Tom C on here too. We got Dorothy from Kane. How you doing this morning, Dorothy? Good to see you on the show here. But Tom made a comment. The gold was 48.67, and as Jim said, about $80, somewhere in that neighborhood for silver. Interestingly, the price of oil is, as of yesterday, I didn't check it today, was $98.48 a barrel. And that they use the Texas crude for that pricing. Mm-hmm. And I did some research and I asked, I was doing it through AI. I hate using that, but I do, just for doing some searching. It's like a glorified search engine for me. But I asked about Pennsylvania crude because they didn't mention that in the pricing. And their answer was Pennsylvania crude is a higher quality, and they called it sweeter. I don't know if somebody's tasting this oil and they say it's sweet. Fran, you know a little bit about oil with your association with the oil museum, but I don't know what sweetness means in oil. But the long story short, they don't figure oil or Pennsylvania crude into welcome back, Jim,
Yep.
into the picture on the oil pricing, because I think, as it said, there's not enough Pennsylvania crude to impact world supply. So it doesn't really, Pennsylvania crude is like its own little thing altogether. So I was just explaining, we were just filling some time until you got back, Jim,
Yeah.
that about the price of oil and the fact that Pennsylvania crude doesn't really figure into that, although they do go by, the pricing of Pennsylvania crude does follow somewhat, other markets. But it's interesting because if you see the paper, it tells you what, for example, ARG is paying per barrel. On a given day, you can see that when the paper when they publish a paper anyway. But it doesn't seem to ever get as high as, like this $98 a barrel that it is today. So Pennsylvania is a little bit different animal, I think, when it comes to
I
oil.
say Fran did respond to you though.
Yeah, I'm gonna put okay. Pennsylvania crude, higher lubricity. I guess that's how you say that, lubricating ability.
Yeah.
To have we have paraffin in our oil here, as opposed to Texas has asphalt in their oil, I believe. So paraffin base, we're getting off out of the oil.
Well,
oil 101.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, Tom just reiterated what I just said about the asphalt. So
Well,
where did we leave off? You were talking
there's
about
silver, and then I want to get that oil things
Yeah.
that Fran and Tom were talking about there, because there's pros and cons to everything. So the silver aspect, just to summarize that part up, silver serves a dual purpose: monetary and industrial use. So if the global economy is going to contract, then the industrial use of silver might not be in such great demand. So the demand is not as high, so therefore the price might go down. However, when you're talking high-tech warfare, you use a lot of silver in the manufacture of those weapon systems. So, and the average consumer use might go down, but the military use then goes up. So maybe it counteracts each other that way. In terms of oil, there's pros and cons. So, $100 a barrel oil is very good for the Bradford economy. We could benefit from it. Something.
Well, it's a double-edged sword, because, for full disclosure, we have some property that there's a lease on it. We get royalties from it, but at the same time, the royalties go up a little bit. The price of gasoline goes up too. So we're putting money in our gas tank, more money in our gas tank. So it really, it was not a huge benefit in that case. But
okay. So I'll just mention, there was a tweet that came out from the president who said, higher gas prices are awesome. We make a lot of money off of it. And people said, well, who's we? So I guess that's the question. Who is we? Which obviously it's the oil companies. And if you own stock in oil companies, you're probably going to do very well as well. If you're the average person that has to drive to work, well, that's probably not going to benefit you very much. But, so it's all a matter of, there's always winners and losers in everything. Just a matter of trying to figure out what side's going to win and be on the right side of that trade.
Just as an anecdote here on the whole idea of the oil and the silver impacting other markets and trade, I just had to, for my computer business, my IT services company, in the last couple of weeks, the supply and the price of computers, first of all, the prices are going through the roof, and the supply is ridiculously low. I had to order a computer for a client just this morning before air, and before we went on the air, and the computers that are available are not many. Let's put it that way. And to your point, Jim, on that silver being a commodity, there's a lot of silver in the system boards and the other electronics that go into a computer. And most of our computer equipment, components that go in the box, come from either Indonesia, Vietnam, Taiwan, or even China for that matter. And if oil is starting to affect their manufacturing capabilities, then, these parts aren't going to be available. As a matter of fact, if I go on my distributor's website, and, a lot of the computers that they have listed there are out of stock, with stock not coming back in until May. I mean, now you realize that it doesn't sound like much, March, middle of March to May. But if you're a company that needs a computer right away, it gets a little dicey if you have to wait a month and a half or 2 months to get one.
I'm not sure what's causing that particular issue, but there's an article that came out again. I mean, these are all late breaking news stories because things are happening so fast. But there are certain chemicals. I mean, a lot of things are made out of oil. Think of plastic, for example.
Oh, yeah.
And oil goes into a lot of other things that we never ever realize. But what's happening, again, this is in Southeast Asia, is that because the oil's not coming out, they can't make other chemicals. And so the chip plants, the computer factories are starting to shut down, not necessarily because of the silver, although that might be happening at some point down the road, but because these other chemicals that are needed to make the chips are no longer available.
Yeah.
So your particular situation with the computers could become worse. Only time will tell as to what happens.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I have a friend, actually is a friend of my son up in Massachusetts, has a degree in chemical engineering, and he works on Intel chips. His job is so specific. He works on the dielectric layers in between the layers of the processors, for example, and that's all they're chemicals, so they're coming somehow out of oil. So yeah, I can understand what you're saying there. So let's talk back to oil. All right, this is a good. I mean, I know we talked about this off the air, Jim, a day or two ago, but I still want to ask this question on air so everybody can have an input if they want. Okay, so I did a little research, and they say only 2% of all the oil used in the U.S. comes through the Strait of Hormuz. Okay. Why then did the price of oil and gasoline go up almost immediately after the first missiles flew?
Well, I'm not in the oil industry, so I can't give the exact answer to that. However, we have to keep in mind that this is a global market. So there is a thing known as arbitrage. So let's say, for example, and we talk a lot about with the silver and gold, that's smaller item, but it's still relevant to this concept. So let's say, for example, and there was a report from China Business Inside, or China Inside Business, a gentleman from America, but he lives over in China. He talks about business in China. He goes, the price of oil in China was $118 a barrel, much higher than it is over here, almost $20 higher or so. Mm-hmm. There's the concept of arbitrage. So now we could never do this, not on this level for sure, because we don't have oil tankers. But if you can get $20 a barrel more for oil in China than you can in the United States, and you happen to have a tanker, well, how many barrels are in that tanker? I have no idea. 1 million barrels or something like that. I don't know. But you take that tanker of oil that's supposed to go to the United States, and you say, if I sell it in the United States, I can get $95. But if I reroute it over to China, I can get $118. I'm going to send it to China, get more money for it. So that is one possible reason as to why. there could be arbitrage going on, and people are redirecting the oil flows out of the United States over to China because they can get more money. Pure capitalism.
Oh, just as an FYI, I just did a little quick search. You have very large crude carriers and ultra large crude carriers, and they can handle anywhere from 1.9 million to 3.7 million, 3.7 million barrels in
Wow.
Yeah.
the ultra large crude carriers are 3.7 million up to, and the other ones are the very large are 1.9 million barrels.
So if we said 2 million barrels for simple math, 2 million times $20, that's $40 million to reroute your oil from the United States to China.
There you go.
It might be worth it. I don't know how much it costs to run a tanker, but that could be one reason.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit out of my price range, but that's beside the point.
Well, who knows? There could be other things too, but that's the first thing that comes to my mind. Because you know what, we saw that with silver just 2 months ago, where China was offering $30 more an ounce than the United States was, so people were shipping it from the United States over to China. So, it
right.
works.
Let me shift gears here a little bit and go a little bit out of order in what I had on my notes, because I think this is kind of leading into this. Because if we have, if oil is going up, if silver, or, if we're having shortages in manufacturing overseas and we're having impacts on U.S. markets, the topic I had here was weakening of and you mentioned this last time we were on, Jim, weakening of the U.S. labor market and growth signals. And I'm just going to throw, I did a little research this, and I'm not anywhere near as fluent in this as you are, Jim, but they were saying the February job reports were adjusted down 92,000.
Yep.
And it was quote unquote unexpectedly went down. Unemployment rose 4.4%. Fourth quarter 2025 GDP was revised down to just 0.7% annualized growth, and consumer spending and retail sales showed, a little bit of upswing, because it's probably because it was a Christmas time, okay, but they don't expect that to continue. Thoughts?
Well, it's exactly what I've been reporting for months on the show, Jim. The economy is not as good as some people say it is, and you said they were shocked that this happened. It's like, really? I wasn't shocked. So it depends. I guess it depends on where you get your news from. If you're listening to a talking head on certain media outlets, then they tend to portray things very good. If you go to the other side, they'll tend to portray things horribly. The truth is usually in the middle someplace. And
I think where a lot of people are hurting is now these new food rules that we've kicked in. Now we can't just poison everybody with everything we give everybody. You have to follow the new standard. And that's hurting a lot of product. A lot of products being discontinued and taken off the shelf because they don't want to be black labeled, because their product is still has bad stuff in it. And so they're having a hard time getting some stuff. So a lot of we got a lot of product we've discontinued in our store because they won't change their standards.
So you're talking about the Maha movement?
As far as the food quality, putting crap in your food, and you got to have more natural ingredients, that's hurting a lot of companies.
So that's because of the Maha efforts. Is that what you're saying? Maha. That's Robert Kennedy Jr.
Yes, exactly. And a lot of people are discontinuing all kinds of stuff because they can't sell it, because they're going to get black labeled because they've been putting crap in your food and they don't care. But it's easier to put crap in your food and sell it.
Well, I suppose that could have an impact on if they're on the economy, on pricing.
I've seen this stuff we've discontinued because we're not going to sell it anymore, because we don't want to get we don't want to be get black labels for selling food that could poison people.
It just dawned on me.
That was a major concern of the American people in the last election.
Right.
So they voted for that.
Yeah.
So I'm you folks all know I'm a homesteader. I try to eat healthy. I don't do perfect, but You can pay the farmer now, or you can pay the doctor later.
Interesting. This just popped into my head because I think weirdly sometimes, but with the oil, all right, what is the basis of most pharmaceuticals?
Oil.
We found out through Rochester or through Rockefeller.
It's oil, and most of it's made in China and India.
Okay, so there doesn't seem to be a shortage of pharmaceuticals.
Too much money involved.
Let's see how that plays out, because I know some folks from the Scotland area and stuff like that, and mentioned once there were some shortages of pharmaceuticals, like in England. I don't know. Now this was say a month or two ago, so it's just
that might have been.
Let's see how it plays out, because if that oil isn't getting through, although I'm waiting to see if we go down this road, because I'll explain how that oil is starting to get through to China and India, but we haven't gotten to that topic yet. So some of the stuff might not be. There might be plenty of pharmaceuticals out there if you can get them.
Yeah. I think we should unleash the American farmer all over again, and schools should go back to having more FFA classes where they're teaching people to do all this stuff that they used to, that they don't pretty much focus on anymore. It's becoming a lost art. Most people don't know how to farm and produce and grow their own stuff.
Well, Fred, I've been doing gardening classes for probably 15 years now.
Mm-hmm. At your private school you go to, right?
No, I've done them at the Mercantile, the library. I've done them at destinations here in Bradford. I've done them all over the place.
Right. I mean, it just needs to be more prevalent throughout the whole country, I'm saying.
Well,
what did Tom say there? What did he say there, Jim? What did you post?
Oh, which about Tom or
what did he just say, Jim? Oh,
he's agreeing with Jim about the homesteading.
Okay, I agree.
So,
okay.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, I don't think, and this goes to the greater conspiracy, I guess you will. What's been happening in our education system for the last 60 years? We have been indoctrinating the children, and basically leaning them towards a very socialistic, communistic track, which tells you don't be self-sufficient, rely on government, and we'll take care of you, and the government will control everything you do. Well, the government, if they want to be in total control, can't let you be self-sufficient.
True.
So
now I get it, though. When I was a kid, my dad always had a garden, and we raised hogs. I didn't understand it when I was a kid, but now I know why he did that.
You like bacon?
Oh, that too.
Anyways, all right, we digress here a little bit. Let's get back to
Jim
in general. So anyway, so the economy is not going great if you look at the real numbers, then basically. And
and then one could always make this statement, because we've said it so many times: when all else fails, they take you to war.
You said if
Epstein's in the media, they take you to war. So
yeah, you said that since we started this podcast.
Yeah,
seriously. So, and that's what we're doing right now. So is that by the money people? I was watching a podcast this morning talking about who really controls what's going on. And it all goes back to the central bankers.
I would agree with that.
Bankers.
Are the days of the petrodollar coming to an end, Jim? I mean, do we want to talk about that? Is that a topic for you here this morning?
Well, let me ask you this: all right, I'm going to answer that with a question. Do the central bankers want it to come to an end? Because if they do, it will. If they don't, it won't. That's my opinion.
Well, we know that globally and in the USA, done through different measures, the whole concept of digital currencies, digital wallets, central bank digital currencies are being pushed heavily. We globally, actually, a friend shared a video with Europe. Basically by the end of this year, next year, everyone in Europe will need to have a digital ID wallet. And then by the end of 2027, companies will all have to be signed on with it. And so within, 2 years or so, this is going to become very commonplace in Europe. We talked about them trying to do this in other countries throughout the world. A lot of places are already virtually there. And then in the United States, we talked about the Genius Act and certain executive orders on cryptocurrencies and tokenization. And those are all coming to be implemented in the next year or two as well. So my bet is, yes, they're ready to pull the plug on the current system to roll out the new one. That would be my bet. Now they need an event to happen to cause that to happen. And I would say it is possible that what we're seeing in the Middle East is that event. And if you like, I'll go into some more detail on that.
Well, we got time. It's 9:42. Because I wanted to talk about the CBDC, programmable currency anyway. So, go ahead, go down that rabbit hole for a minute.
Okay. So this is, and you folks do your own research. You can come up with your own conclusions and so forth, as always. So back in 1971, on August 15th, Richard Nixon took the US dollar off the gold standard.
Temporarily,
and we experienced heavy inflation. So Henry Kissinger, Secretary of State, went over to the Middle East, Saudi Arabia in particular, and said, let's make a deal. You sell oil only in US dollars. And in return, and then they would take that extra money and invest it in US Treasury bills, debt, so to speak. In return, we would provide them with high technology defensive systems and offer protection to the Middle Eastern countries. Isn't that fascinating? I'm going blank again for no reason. Oh.
What do you mean going blank? We can hear you. Oh, he froze up again.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you, Jim, but you're froze up as far as your picture. A little technical difficulty. So while he's doing that, I know where he was going with this, because we were talking the other day, and basically he said that, since Iran's been lobbing their missiles into all the neighboring countries, into Saudi Arabia, into some of our other quote unquote allies over there, we've let down our part of that agreement because, we did not protect them from the missiles. Let me get Jim back on here. I don't know if you heard any of that, Jim. But
I was offline, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was just talking about what you and I discussed yesterday in our show prep, in that, since some of those Iranian missiles got through to our Middle Eastern allies, if you can call them allies, like Saudi Arabia and other countries, that they're a little ticked that we didn't protect them. Is that a good summarization?
Well, I don't think it's a full. It's a nice starting point. I'm not sure it's a full story. So not a sum, but quite a few. If you're watching things now, oh good, my Wi-Fi's back up. I keep losing Wi-Fi over here. I'm watching.
You just froze again, Jim.
No reason for this at all.
Yeah, it's Satan, I think. Let me just see.
I just hope the digital currency never comes into play, because then the idea is not about having enough money anymore. It's about having control. And if they get digital currency approved, they will have control, because they'll just shut your money off if they want to. Bill Gates said this like 15 years ago. We should go to digital currency. That way, if people don't listen, we just shut their money off.
Yeah. So anyways, I was just thinking what's going on with Jim with his Wi-Fi there.
Could it be Satan?
We haven't played that one in a long time.
I thought you should have played one the other day, like Can't Handle the Truth, considering how bad all the stuff that's going on in this country. I think if people truly knew what was happening, they couldn't handle it.
Well, agreed. We'll get Jim back on here, but I wanted to talk about the digital programmable digital currency, and good, he's coming back on. Let's see. Well, let's get him back on. Yes. Okay, Jim. Because we're running out of time. I do want you to answer this question, though. Okay, or I want to bring it up and ask us to discuss it a little bit and see if we get any comments. Okay, programmable digital currency. That's where they want us to go. They meaning the owners, the controllers. All right. In this country alone, I would say we have, I don't know how many, but millions, maybe tens of millions of red-pilled conservative patriots, okay, that will say hell no when it comes to programmable digital currency.
I don't know. Maybe I have you, maybe I don't.
Can you hear me, Jim?
We can hear you. No, we don't. He gone.
Yeah, I think his Wi-Fi is really going whacked out there.
Are they programming in his neighborhood, doing these wires?
Yeah, they're messing with
that
this
over here.
They're messing with this whole situation here. So, anyway, so let me ask our audience here until we get Jim back in the feed. Okay, most of our audience is what I would consider red-pilled, good old American patriots that are going to fight against this whole idea of taking us over with programmable digital currency. And keep in mind what that is. What programmable digital currency means is if you don't do what the government says, they'll turn off your bank accounts.
Exactly.
Or if you don't say, or if you say the wrong things, you won't be able to buy food this week. Or, let's say, because it's programmable, they'll know what you're spending it on. And if you're only allotted so many pounds of meat per week, they can shut off your card to buying more meat. That's
and
the idea.
They want to do that too.
Yeah, the whole idea is total control, even to the point of total control. 15-minute cities can't drive outside of this. So total control. All right. So what would let's just assume the 70 million people that voted for Trump in 2024 would be considered red-pilled conservative patriots. What would those 74 million people say if the government tried to implement this CBDC, the central bank digital currency, or programmable money? What do you think? What do you think would be the reaction, Fred?
I think all hell would break loose. And you talk about a civil war, I think it would be even bigger. And then these other countries will invade us while we're fighting eternally.
Well, which leads to another good question, because, and this is completely different from the CBDCs, but do you realize that the Second Amendment, and let me see if I have my book here. I probably do have one. The Second Amendment does talk about a well-regulated militia, and the way the Constitution was written, the Bill of Rights, it wasn't an option. In other words, the Second Amendment did not give people the option to, let me see here. I want to find it in here so I can read it verbatim, okay? Because I think this is something people don't understand. One more page. Excuse me. All right. Oh, right here. Okay. So the Second Amendment is, boy, my hands aren't working. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. The Second Amendment wasn't just saying that you have the right to bear arms. It's saying you have the duty to bear arms. And in the colonial time, in Washington's times, they you any able-bodied man up to a certain age was required to be part of a militia. It was required to have their guns ready and ammunition ready to and engage in training so they could be a well-regulated militia. Okay. And it wasn't to go hunting, and it wasn't to protect yourself against a foreign invasion. It could have been, but it was more meant to protect ourselves from a tyrannical government. So, Jim, we got off on a little bit of a tangent here, talking what would the millions of patriots do if our government really tried to implement. I knew you keep going back to the Genius Act and all that, but what would the people do if the government in earnest tried to enact digital currency where that was, well, let me qualify between digital, because we already have digital. I carry a debit card in my wallet. That's digital currency.
Exactly.
A programmable digital currency. What do you think those millions upon millions of red-pilled patriots would do, Jim?
The vast majority will go along with it.
You think?
Yeah, I do.
What do the rest of the audience think? I'm just curious.
I mean, one, there'll be an event that happens that you know what, if you want to be able to feed your family and stuff, this would be a good thing to do. If you want to go it alone, then it'll be more difficult. If you fight against the narrative, most won't. A few will. Those who maybe have a homestead and have planned and prepared for it, they'll stand up more. But if you got to put food on the table for your kids, you're going to go along with it. The younger generation, they love digital stuff. They're already, the hook, line, and sinker into it. I got a cat walking over here. So, yeah, I think most people will go along with it.
Well,
I think you're going to have mass hysteria. People are going to lose their mind. And that's the reason why they changed the food stamps to a credit card, to get people set up for digital currency. So I agree, they're already prepping people to move to this direction. But at the same time, I think it would be real bad. And if you can't beat a nation, the best way to beat a nation is to cause anarchy within that nation. And then it's easier to take them from the outside.
Put it this way, the Revolutionary War, what are some of the statistics? It was like 5% that were truly in favor, actually picked up guns to fight the British. It'd probably be the same, which means that it is a possibility we could still win. But the vast majority they're going to do what's easiest. I mean, you look at it everywhere. Look at Nazi Germany. How many people stood up to Hitler? Most went along with it. The human heart hasn't changed.
None of them have a constitution that allowed them to carry guns, did they? Did the Germans have a constitution that said that they could bear arms?
I think it did, and then they took it away.
Exactly.
I might be wrong on that, but in any case, the vast majority of the Germans never stood up against Hitler. They went along with it for whatever reason.
And how did they do it? They got the children. Turn in your parents, and we'll give you a Hitler Youth knife.
And Jim, you just talked about our educational system. They did the same thing. It's history. History may not repeat, but it sure does rhyme.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
Our number one hope right now is to get back to God, and for people to be aware of what is actually going on. Most people don't really know what's going on. So I think your audience is far more in tune with things than others.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, Jim, we got 5 minutes left. Let me turn it over to you for any closing thoughts that you want to leave us with before.
Yeah, I will, because I sent you a text message saying I wish we could have talked about this. So just something for folks to be aware of that seems to be happening. It was suspected, and then about a week ago, more word came out about it, and now you're seeing it in the news. And it's there and it's not there, depending on how you look at things. So you mentioned the Strait of Hormuz, which is closed. No, it's not closed. It's open. It's just no ships are going through it. Okay, because Iran might attack a ship. And I shouldn't say no ships. There are a few. I think they said in the last 3 weeks, 20 or 30 ships have gone through, but typically speaking, close to 100 will go through in a day. So we're looking at about 1% passage at this point. That's what's happening. So it's pretty close. And then, it was told, tankers, get some courage and go through. So a couple tried and 4 got struck in one night alone. So people are pretty hesitant. Then it was, okay, let's get our allies down here to help. Well, first we said we didn't need their help. Then we said, can you come down here and help us open it up? And nobody seems to want to help. So the strait is closed, but we're seeing some, and I've got a cat that wants to walk over here. Sorry. So
David?
Tankers go through, but Iran is now doing something, and maybe this will help explain this war, or what this war might really be about. And hold on one second.
Is that David, Jim?
No, this is Esther.
Okay.
But she just wants to love a little bit, and I can't do that right now. Anyhow, so we can bomb Iran day and night. Iran's a huge country, and hold on. Now she wants to knock over the computer screen. Okay, so we can bomb them day and night, but is that going to end them? Maybe, maybe not. We killed their supreme leader, who also happened to be the equivalent of the Pope of the Shiite Muslims. So we kind of turned it into a little bit of a religious war potentially, but they're probably not going to fall anytime soon. Maybe they will. What is their goal? They can't take out the United States militarily per se, but can they hurt us? Yes, they can. What does it appear that they are trying to do? They're trying to take out the petrodollar, because they have come out recently and actually say, even a week and a half ago, and saying, if you bought your oil using Chinese yuan, you will have safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz. Okay. We got cut off there a little bit, but I think you mentioned it, Jim. I should have started with this first, that, our guarantee to the Middle Eastern countries was to protect them. They've sent through quite a few missiles. And if you've seen those hypersonics coming through, there's something to behold. That's for sure. I saw that one image, which was a classic. It hit the ground, and then our 2 Patriot missiles fired back. That's how fast it's coming. We don't even get our missiles off the ground until they actually hit. They took out our radar stations. Israel now has limited or no advance warning of missiles coming in, because they took out all of our missile stations, which, by the way, to build those, that you need gallium. And China has 95% of that market, and they're not shipping any to us anymore. So it might be very difficult to make those same weapon systems again. So Iran yesterday told the Arab nations, you have to choose us, or you have to choose the Arab world or the United States. A week ago, it was reported that the Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Bahrain, and there was a 4th country were meeting to discuss all of their financial commitments with the United States in light of our defensive systems failing. And not only failing, but it was brought up that we pulled a lot of our troops out of the area prior to the war starting, or early on. So some of them are questioning whether we knew our systems would not be able to protect.
I'm going to interrupt you here for a minute, Jim. We got to say goodbye to our OBBM network right now. So go ahead. We can take a couple more minutes and finish up, but we had to say goodbye to OBBM.
Okay. Did you say goodbye?
Well, I might have got the first couple words in there before 10 o'clock rolled over, but
sorry.
Go ahead.
So anyhow, in the big picture here, folks, this is something to pay attention to. We've dropped 10,000 bombs on Iran. Iran's a very big country, and have we blown up things? Oh, absolutely, we've blown up some stuff, and now we're targeting some of their oil infrastructure as well. So that will cause them some pain for sure. But that oil also, they will retaliate and blow up more Middle Eastern oil infrastructure. How long can countries sustain the pain? And now they sent out this, look, you know what? If you keep going along with the United States, we're going to keep bombing you. The question is, as some people are saying, is the United States getting an eviction notice out of the Middle East? I don't know. A lot of our bases are gone or heavily damaged. Our radar systems are down, and we pulled our 2 aircraft carriers off the coast of almost Somalia now to get them out of fire range from the missiles. Our F-15s can still fly there. I checked. They got about a 2,500 mile range, and they can still bomb. But 2,000 of that 2,500 is on the flight to and from. So they got about 500 miles to fly over Iran. So watch that carefully, because if you see more Middle Eastern countries start selling oil in yuan or something other than the US dollar, then what has been backing our currency, oil, is going to take a very significant hit. And so it's something for folks to be aware of. And, and we've talked about this forever. I oftentimes say I can see the day coming when a U.S. aircraft carrier is at the bottom of the ocean. I'm not happy to say that, but I could see that playing out. That hasn't happened yet, although our military bases have been pretty heavily hit in the Middle East. And it is interesting. There were some reports that an aircraft carrier did get hit. And shortly after that, those aircraft carriers headed farther out to sea. And then Trump made the statement that those are AI-generated images. Were they? Maybe not. I don't know. What I do know is that it appears that Iran wants the Middle Eastern nations to abandon the U.S. and start selling their oil in yuan.
Well, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
What I was told is they didn't blow up the island. They hit their military defenses that they had on the island to ask them to surrender before, or they'll just take the island, and they did not. So they were hitting their military defenses.
Well, yeah, and today yesterday overnight, however you want to think, they started bombing some of the pipelines heading into the southern Iran. So we're now starting to target their infrastructure. But you know what? But we've been doing that. Like, that's Karg Island, Fred, and we just took out their military installations, not the the oil economic end.
Right, exactly.
But if you saw that image out of Tehran a week and a half ago, I mean, that was almost like a nuclear bomb went off, what we did up there. I mean, we took out that entire oil complex, and oil ran down on the citizens of Tehran. And you got to keep in mind, Tehran has like 10, 12 million people. And, that oil fell on the ground and then lit the streets on fire in places. That was quite the inferno. What's that?
I said, I didn't see that.
Oh, well, you should, because it was quite the sight to be seen. The whole, I mean, it was something to behold, that's for sure.
I know there's all kinds of images coming out of carriers getting hit by bombs, and they're buckling like they're a cardboard box, and that's AI.
Well, that's AI.
I mean, there's all kinds of images out there right now.
But did something get hit? Maybe. We don't know. I mean, what was it? On the third day of the war, three of our fighter jets went down from friendly fire? Or did they get shot down? And of course, now we know they did take out a KC-105 or something like that. So Iran is posing a much bigger obstacle than a 2 or 3 day war or 2 to 3 week war. I mean, this thing is it has gone much bigger than it was supposed to, and we'll just have to see how it plays out. But I can see how this would play out, because we talked about this, Jim, for so many episodes on the show, that at one point something is going to happen, and the Middle Eastern nations leave the United States. And if these are the end times, and if Ezekiel 38 is true and is relevant to this time period, well, we know it's true. It's just the question is it relevant to this time period? Then Persia, along with a group of allies, mounts an attack against Israel. So if we are in those end times, if this is Ezekiel 38, as some people phrase it as, then we should expect Iran to be successful at this point. Now, God will deal with them. God will destroy them all at one point, but this would not be that point.
Yeah.
Just things to consider.
Yeah. Well, it's 5 after 10. I'm going to have to cut it off here and ask Fred to pray us out of here, and we'll close the show out at this point. Go ahead, Fred.
All right. Thank you, Lord, for this day, Lord. We know we're living in tough times, so we trust in you, Lord. I ask, Lord, you would give us wisdom, give us understanding, and separate the truth from the lie, Lord. There's so much information that we can't understand with our own comprehension. So we need your wisdom. We need your guidance. I ask, Lord, you put a hedge of protection around those people who are out there doing good, and expose the ones who are doing bad. Lord, I ask that you protect our nation, and that we would truly come back to be one nation under God. And that's what we're looking for. So we ask for your protection. People, keep your hearts pure right now, because the bottom line, silver and gold will all fade away. But if you have a relationship with the Lord, you're going to be fine. So in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thanks, Fred. Hey, Jim, thank you as always for coming on and sharing your thoughts and wisdom with us. And we'll catch you again soon.
Okay. Blessings to y'all.
All right. Take care.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm going to find out more, though.
Where everybody,
You're still alive.
yeah, let me close out the show here, Fred. So no matter where you are, hope you're having a great day. Be blessed.
And be a blessing to others.
And we'll see you next week.